Hello, everyone. Welcome to Feedstuffs 365. I'm Sarah Muirhead, and with me today is Greg Soulje, agricultural meteorologist Greg Soulje. And boy, Greg, we sat here for a couple weeks in this past few months, and it's like, well, there's not a lot going on. There's not a
Yeah.
lot going on, and now. Guess what? There seems to be a lot going on. I think winter is here and the wind. Oh my goodness. So I probably lots to talk about, I would say.
Yeah, absolutely. And boy, the first of several rude awakenings to man and beast. The phrase, and it drives Max Armstrong crazy when I say this, the other boot and or hoof are going to drop here across the middle part of the country. Hopefully, folks in Montana and the Dakotas are ready to go. We've been talking about that you guys are first. We're next across the Corn Belt. And yeah, it's amazing. Here comes December 1st in the next couple of 2 or 3 days, and winter finally arrives.
Very good. All right, Greg. Well, I'll let you get at it.
All right, here we go on this Wednesday before the big Thanksgiving holiday, and cold air is on the move this morning, and it is a windblown event, which is underway. We had some hits to 68 to 70 miles per hour just east and southeast of the Black Hills yesterday morning. That would have been Tuesday morning. And with that system, and these things have become far more energetic. They've been sort of lollygagging their way across the country. Now, when you tap into the polar jet and the Arctic air and the cold air, these things get ramped up and they become significant wind producers, as we're experiencing through the upper Midwest, down through the Great Lakes region and eastern Corn Belt today. And prior to that, 3 to 7 inches of snow came down, and you'll see that snow cover map here in just a minute, blanketing parts of the plains, the northern plains, and upper Midwest and western Great Lakes region, where the winter storm advisories and winter storm warnings are in effect across Wisconsin. That area will shift eastward with the rain welcome through Michigan, changing over to snow, and lake effect will get going over there for a change over the next 24 to 36 hours. So cold air on the move will put some frost and freeze to the ground. Hopefully you didn't have any rutting issues out there because we're going to begin to firm it up here good and tight. And there's snow in the forecast for the upper Midwest and about the northern third, roughly the I-80 corridor on north and northwest here over part of the holiday weekend. So stay up to date in some of those later weather forecasts. And the early tap of some of the Arctic air readings were down below the 10-degree mark over some of the freshly snow-covered fields. And there's more snow cranking up across Big Sky country and the western and northern high plains here today, this morning, and over the next couple of days. And so that's the story out there. There's still some areas, by the way, back to the Corn Belt issues. There's still some corn out there, a fair amount I'm hearing from the eastern Dakotas, Nebraska, especially North Dakota. So some of those winds and the snow cover now means we've had some lodging and some blowdown out there. So there may be a little while, or maybe the need for some inputs to wrap up the last of harvest over the far upper Midwest and western and northwestern Corn Belt locales. Still a nice days worth of weather with regard to temperature, but even a big cool off expected down across the deep south and southeastern part of the country. And yesterday morning, boy, Atlanta, Georgia, and Georgia in general, and the southeastern states getting some welcome rainfall, some severe weather, but welcome rainfall. And sometimes we get into these La Nina storms that can be all or nothing, more severe and less rain in that particular part of the country. But there was some degree of rainfall in some of the worst drought areas. We'll have the drought monitor. It was issued here on this Wednesday, as opposed to tomorrow, Thanksgiving Day. We'll take a look at that in just a second. And across the western states, if you're looking for the mild, warm weather relative to the West Coast and the western U.S., along and west of the divide, rain, though, is back into play. Welcome for the Pacific Northwest. The snows and winter weather advisories, storm watches and warnings are getting up and hoisted north of Yellowstone and across north of Idaho and Montana. So that moisture is appreciated and welcome for some of the winter grains newly sown into the Pacific Northwest. There is the low sun angle visible satellite picture from this morning. And we've kind of put the jet stream and upper air for charts over on top of that. And you can see kind of several well-defined curls or commas running from the Great Lakes and eastern Corn Belt into the eastern states. And anytime you marry up those upper level winds and low level winds, you're able to transport moisture and energy and momentum downward. That's how you come up with these significant wind events. And so they are tied in pretty directly over the Dakotas into the western Corn Belt with time. And we'll see even some stronger winds materialize over a wide area of the Corn Belt, probably some 50 to 55 mile per hour gusts as far far south as just south of the I-70 corridor this afternoon. At evening time, I wouldn't be surprised, maybe some hits to 60 miles per hour into parts of northern Illinois, southeast Wisconsin, and across the lake into far northern Indiana and western Michigan. There is the surface weather maps and charts also contributing whenever you see those pressure lines, those isobars over the eastern plains and western Corn Belt locales, for example, and they are tightly compact. And of course, when we looked at the upper chart a second ago, they run again in tandem up aloft, another way to generate wind. And so there's still the strongest wind field into the western Corn Belt, Mississippi Valley to make its way on eastward, along with the rain changing to snow around the Great Lakes region. You can see the next moisture maker beginning to break out across the northern Rockies, and the cold front finally making its way over the southeastern states in the wake of yesterday's rainfall. So there it is for this Wednesday afternoon. And some hectic travel for some folks as far south as I-80, the Kankakee River, and points on northward, whether you're rocking and rolling in the plain because of turbulence. Hopefully they'll keep that to a minimum, or snow coming on down and snow squalls. And this is the first of two significant snow systems that are on tap for the upper Midwest, western, and southern Great Lakes region. Points on westward. We'll take a look at the timing on that in just a second. So the moisture just change over to snow later this afternoon and evening time into Michigan. Still, the downwind areas into western and southwestern Michigan, there are winter storm warnings in effect there, and downwind into northeast Ohio, northwestern Pennsylvania, western New York State. It's a southwest or west-southwest wind flow they need to get significant lake snows going. There may be in some of those areas around Buffalo to pick up 2 or 3 feet of snow in the next 2 or 3 days out there. Meanwhile, the weather maps and charts continue to be pretty active going forward into Thursday, Thanksgiving Day. Downwind to the Great Lakes region, a cold start to the day into the Plain States and Western Corn Belt locales. The moisture picks up in the Pacific Northwest, a snappy last in the string of these atmospheric river systems moving in to the Pacific Northwest. And there we are by Friday. The snows get going in earnest tomorrow afternoon and evening out through Montana. They work into the Western Dakotas and kind of line up along that I-90-94 corridor down to the I-80 corridor and points on northward. We've got the snow totals. We just don't have the dynamics figured out on how these snows are going to materialize in that or range over the Great Lakes region and north and northwestern Corn Belt going forward. Sometimes the cart ends up going before the horse, but they ultimately all get lined up and in tandem and work themselves out from a forecasting standpoint. There's the water equivalent over the next 24 to 48 hours over the Great Lakes region. A couple of showers and thunderstorms down through Florida and a significant swath of moisture into the Pacific Northwest. There is the snow chart from this morning, and it's been pretty much few and far between these mornings where we have significant snow. A couple of 2 or 3 weeks ago, we had it into areas of the central Corn Belt. This morning, from the Twin Cities to north of the Corn Palace and back up towards Bismarck, Mandan, that area of North Dakota, half a foot or more on the ground there, and still getting whipped around into a frenzy from the Red River Valley of the north and the eastward. So the headlines, part of the small bullet points here, lots going on for the middle and late portions, of particularly the Thanksgiving holiday weekend. So it's that Pacific Northwestern system and the one through the Great Lakes region that are causing some issues right now. It's wind, blowing snow, and lake effect snow that will shift into lower Michigan and downwind to the Great Lakes region. That new Pacific weather system will make its way between late Friday, more so Saturday, into the western and northwestern and northern Corn Belt locales. And as we overrun the cold air that we have established with Gulf moisture dynamics, warmth, if you will, it's called an overrunning process or a warm conveyor belt snow events. And sometimes those can be very tricky to forecast, whether you rely, live or die on the models, or you do it the old school way that we do once in a while here in the weather office. So behooves the individual, if you're going to be traveling I-80 corridor north and northwest here in the next 36 to 48 hours, stay up to date on later forecasts. Temperatures this afternoon, colder, will hold in the 30s and 40s, if not drop a few degrees. There's the last of the warmth over the eastern states. Here comes the next prod of cold air into the high plains areas by Saturday. Daytime temperatures only in the teens and 20s and probably falling there, upper 20s and 30s over the rest of the Corn Belt. And by Tuesday next week, we're struggling to get out of the teens and low 20s. And if we were to have and should have significant snow cover on the ground over much of the north and the central Corn Belt, parts of the northern and east central plains, those temperatures could even be remarkably even colder coming into play. Overnight lows still pretty easy to take by the time we get to tomorrow morning, Thanksgiving morning. By Sunday morning, reading some of that cold air down below 10 degrees will play out as far south as the Nebraska Panhandle, western Kansas, a few single digits there. And by the time we get to Tuesday morning, assuming snow covers on the ground, would be surprised that maybe we're close to zero into parts of northern Illinois, maybe some sub-zero cold into parts of Wisconsin, Iowa, Minnesota. So the first of several lows of Arctic air coming into play as we kind of build into kind of a colder than average weather pattern into the early days and weeks of the new month of December. Kind of a convoluted setup, really two things to keep an eye out for. We have kind of some separation with that system in the western states. You can see a very dominant northern branch of the jet, northern ribbon of air out of the Canadian prairie. Gives us a little glancing blow between Saturday and Sunday. Then a whole northwest to southeast upper pattern coalesces between two systems, one between Tuesday, another one late Thursday, Friday next week. Anyway, we get more and more ensconced in more of the northerly branch of the jet. The southern branch swings to the south. Anytime you put those two together, phase them, as we call it in the weather business, you get storm development, whether it's the plains, the Ohio Valley, the Corn Belt, upper Midwest. And so that's something that needs to be watched going forward here in the foreseeable future. Anyway, going forward here onto the weather maps and charts, the surface weather maps and charts, you can see that low coming out between Saturday and Sunday from the Oklahoma Panhandle into the western Great Lakes region. There'll be an increasing southeast to south wind over a developing boundary that sets up somewhere between I-80 and north and northwest of I-70, and along and just north of that boundary is where the snows should get going. Problem, there may be some issues with regarding freezing rain and some low ceilings and areas of fog as well between Saturday night and Sunday morning. But that low moves right along, winds pick up, and whatever moisture, probably rain, there'll be transition over to rain in some of these areas through Illinois and Indiana before shifting back over to snow showers and flurries. And we get into another piece of that cold between Monday and Tuesday. And you can see another system there by Wednesday, a boundary cold front to the north. Another system out of the plains. Again, a phasing of a jet stream pattern, and we may be looking at another round of snow to rain back over to snow somewhere across the plains and Corn Belt locales. Look at it as drought relief for next year. In any event, there's the snow. There's the early thinking on kind of the issues regarding travel and accumulating snow. 4 to 8 inches is what we've been peddling in the weather office here and some of our radio pals across the Great Lakes and parts of the Corn Belt. And you can see roughly centered the I-80 corridor a little bit south, maybe down to about Bloomington normal. The I-55 run, and then points back up to the Twins and east towards Milwaukee, downwind of the Great Lakes region, and some significant rainfall over some of the improving drought areas of eastern Texas, Oklahoma, and the lower Mississippi Valley. There it is. The next 7 days, they have more rain in the forecast there. So some of those winter cover crop areas will get some moisture. Don't think it'll be supercharged cold air to deal with for now, as again, that northerly branch of the jet generally stays north of the I-10 and I-20 corridor. And this, again, could be a significant snow if you take that moisture equivalent, 1/2 to 3/4 of an inch, and do the 10-to-1 ratio, again, 4 to 8, somewhere in that range, if things work out correctly on all the thermodynamics that come into play. Still not really 100% confident on that forecast, but stay up to date on those forecasts. There's the drought monitor. Came out on this Wednesday over the Illinois, Indiana, Ohio region, the worst of the drought there. Significant improvement showing up down through the parts of Cotton Belt country. And they did get rain over the past 24 to 36 hours into the Florida Panhandle, Mississippi, and parts of southern Georgia. Drought outlook, or at least the drought monitor, is still showing issues for eastern Illinois, central Indiana, and northwest Ohio. Next 6 to 10 days, you can see a more direct flow out of western Canada down through the Great Lakes region, swinging into the northeast New England, separate little branch coming out of Southern California into the Gulf Coast and southeastern states. And you see those red hatched lines, that's warming up aloft. So we dislodge the cold for a change, bring it on southward. There will be a break from this coming, but it looks like the second half of the month and towards the holidays, we get into the next lobe, retooling itself across eastern Siberia. there it is. The next 6 to 10 days, pretty much what we've been talking about on the TV show. We'll have that outlook through Christmas, by the way, on this weekend's edition of This Week in Agribusiness. I think Santa will be happy. Others may not be, if you know what I mean. And there's the moisture outlook for the next 6 to 10 days. Significant in the Southwest. That's good news. And down through Dixie as well. And a little more normalized snow forecast for the plains and upper Midwest. In the next couple of weeks, the cold air maybe by the time we get beyond the first 10 days of the month of December tries to modify and moderate. That's the story there. And a quieter weather picture, except plenty of snow and rain in the western states. And I suspect that's taking aim probably between about the 15th and 20th of the month of December across the heartland. Our next updated outlook for the rest of the wintertime season, maybe a sneak peek at springtime, comes up on Wednesday, the 17th of December. And so until then, pardon my terrible font sizing there, happy Thanksgiving there to one and all yourself there included, Sarah, from the weather office. I'll do better on typing when we get together next week.
Yeah, it's the technology. It's not you.
Yeah. We still use, pens, pencils, this kind of stuff in the office. It works for us doing this a million years. So tough to change, show the old dog new tricks once in a while. So
very good. Yeah. So watch that weather, stay safe. And we hope everybody has a great Thanksgiving. So
absolutely.
Greg, we'll touch base with you next week. Thank you so much. And thank you everybody for tuning in.